Hello there.
God.
Fossilization is extremely common.
No, fossilization is the exception, not the rule in marine species, and in land organisms it's extremely rare. Any paleontologist will tell you that. If you can't be bothered to read a paleontology textbook, here's an authoritative source saying the same thing. So what's the source of your claim?
According to Michael Benton, Ph.D., vertebrate paleontologist, they cannot deny that hundreds of millions of fossils reside in display cases and drawers around the world.
But Michael Benton, Ph.D., didn't say fossilization was common. According to the quote you gave, he just said there were hundreds of millions of fossils in display cabinets and shelves all over the world. I mean, who'd be stupid enough to conclude that diamonds are very common, based on the fact that there are millions of them in jewelry shops?
This jawbone of this Ardipithecus ramidus.
He means Ardipithecus ramidus. So we're talking about a hominid. Now you have to follow Mr. Good Science for You's next convoluted tale very carefully. If you don't know what the hell he's talking about, don't worry, neither does he.
So what happens is the material takes the place of the bone. They use radiation dating to date the fossil, and the fossil is not even there. There's no bone there anymore. So what you're actually dating is the material around the bone.
So what Mr. Good Science for You is saying is that paleontologists find a fossil buried in the ground and it's been petrified. In other words, all the bone has been replaced by mineral. Then they date the fossil using radiation dating and proclaim it to be 4.4 million years old or whatever. But what they don't realize is that they're dating the sediment the fossil is buried in, not the fossil itself. The fact that they haven't cottoned onto this after half a century of radiation dating means they're incredibly stupid, and Mr. Good Science for You is the first person in history to spot this obvious flaw. Does that sound very likely? Nah. No surprise, it's the paleontologists that are smart, and Mr. Good Science for You who simply doesn't understand how radiation dating works. Firstly, it's not called radiation dating. It's called radiometric dating. Secondly, it's not used on petrified fossils. And thirdly, it can't even be used on the sedimentary rock fossils are buried in. It's used on igneous rocks. Now that Mr. Good Science understands all that, let's get on with what's left of his argument.
Go to Kenya and drop a bone down there for 3,000 years, and because the material around the bone is 5.5 million years old, they're going to say that that 3,000-year-old bone is 5.5 million years old.
Yes, they probably would if they went to the same college you did and were as clueless about paleontology as you are. But most paleontologists read the textbooks they were given at university and know something about the subject. One of the first things a paleontologist does when he finds a fossil is determine whether it's what's called in situ. Was it buried where the animal died? Is it contemporaneous with the sediment? Or was it transported by a flood or some other agent? Could it be later than the sediment? Such fossils exist, and there are ways of making that determination. Another problem with your argument, of course, is that dropping a bone on the ground won't cause it to petrify in 3,000 years. We know this because we've found 3,000-year-old bones, even ones buried underground, and they haven't been petrified. Oh, and if you want to show me the example of a miner's foot in a boot, I'm going to debunk that in a later video.
So that kind of destroys the whole thing of how they date fossils.
I have this God denialist, thick-headed fan.
Last year, Nephilim Free was nominated for telling us there's a mountain in Australia containing 1 billion dog-sized fossils, which would actually be worth several $1 trillion, so it's a shame he never told us where it is. Well, he hasn't lost his knack for rewriting the science books. This year he's been nominated for something no less silly.
This is a seismographic image of the interior of the Earth. The yellow and red areas are water, trapped inside stone. It is believed that the plates of this Earth's crust are subducting at about the rate which your fingernails grow. Now think carefully about what I'm about to say, Sporty.
Sporty?
You have to be insane to believe that water can remain in stone that is being pushed down into molten magma at the rate which your fingernails grow. You've got to be insane.
Well, here's one person who's apparently insane. This is Dr. Shigenori Maruyama, who presented evidence of subduction of water to the American Geophysical Union in 1999. He showed how hydrous minerals like lawsonite could become unstable as they're subducted and release water into dense magnesium silicates, which take them further down into the upper mantle. I had no idea that this theory was the result of a mental psychosis. Take a look at this 2006 paper. Dense hydrous magnesium silicates, DHMS, may be hosts for water under hydrous conditions in the Earth's mantle and subduction zone. But what's wrong with these people? Don't they watch Nephilim Free's authoritative videos explaining in clear detail that they're insane? And apparently the insanity is shared by a lot of seismologists, geochemists, geophysicists and volcanologists. They all seem equally convinced, through their mad experiments, that magnesium silicates, called perovskites, are hydrous. That is, water is attached to the magnesium silicate molecule. And 5 years ago, some of these lunatics discovered a high-pressure, high-temperature version of this hydrous mineral, which they called post-perovskite, and concluded that the subducted hydrous magnesium silicates could show up as seismic anomalies in the lower mantle. In fact, a couple of them are using your seismic image, Sporty, as evidence of this subduction of water. Well, strictly speaking, it's not your seismic image, is it? It's theirs. These guys produced it. Not only that, they use it as evidence that water is drawn down into subduction zones. Instead of just looking at the pictures, maybe you should read their paper. One of the most dramatic features in our global mantle shear wave attenuation model is a very low Q anomaly at the top of the lower mantle beneath Eastern Asia. We believe that this is due to water that has been pumped into the lower mantle via the long history of the subduction of oceanic lithosphere in this region.
You've got to be insane.
But I'm curious to know at which point the insanity begins. Do you have to be insane to deduce that hydrous lawsonites exist in the crust? Or are these geologists only certifiable when they conclude that lawsonites release water into dense magnesium silicates? Or is it when they conclude that these hydrous silicates form post-perovskites? At which point should the guys in white coats come and lock them away? No, you've got no idea, Sporty. Either all these PhD researchers are insane to start with, or you're ignorant of even the most basic facts of geology. Sorry, but my money's on the latter. Did I just hear you say it's been replaced by minerals? Oh, it's me. So in fact, there's no carbon in it. Oh, by the way, the young woman who's about to speak thinks I'm Thunderfoot, which I find very flattering.
Maybe Thunderfoot is not aware that there are two types of minerals, organic and inorganic minerals.
Yes, I was aware of that. Things like anthracite, which is a form of coal, and oil shale are sometimes called organic minerals. But I don't see what that's got to do with the petrification of dinosaur bones. Oh no, I'm very much afraid you're going to tell us that a fossilized dinosaur bone is an organic mineral. You sound so nice. Please don't say anything so stupid. Please, 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 please.
Organic minerals are either living or have been alive, such as, say, a dinosaur bone, and these would contain carbon. Inorganic minerals are not alive and have never lived, and these have no carbon.
Oh, God, where do I start? Let's start here.
Organic minerals are either living or have been alive.
Organic minerals are not alive. They're minerals. Remember that game, animal, vegetable, mineral? Well, mineral is the dead one.
No, it's not dead, it's resting.
No, it's not even resting. It's not sleeping. It's dead.
But, again, I do believe that this dinosaur bone would have carbon because it's a mineral, but it's an organic mineral.
What you believe is neither here nor there. You could believe dinosaur fossils are made of tofu. That doesn't mean they're actually made of tofu. Look, I know you're not going to believe me when I tell you that organic matter in a bone is replaced by minerals in the sedimentary material around it. Isn't there anyone out there who can explain this to this poor young woman?
Oh.
Not you. Please, anyone.
Hello there. The original bone is gone, and it's been replaced by the materials around it.
It seems that even good science for you knows more about science than you do. You really can't get much lower than that.